In this video lecture, we're going to talk a little bit about professional email. While a lot of communication is moving to Web 2.0, social media, like Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook, on the job, traditional email is still pretty popular. So how can you make sure that you're creating a professional impression with your emails? First, your email address. You want something that is professional. What does this mean? A combination of your first, middle, and last names. Not Hot Mama 89, Kicking It Old School, Johnny's Boo, or something else that's relatively informal and possibly gives the wrong impression. Another issue with these email address names is they don't identify you. Let's face it, there are a lot of people out there kicking it old school. How am I supposed to differentiate you from the thousands of others? Better to use, say, your first and middle initials and then your last name. Be careful about the number that you use. A lot of people might use their birth year, the year they graduated from high school. All of these can give subtle clues as to your age, and you don't want someone consciously or unconsciously discriminating against you because you're a little younger or a little older than they would like. It's really easy to get a professional Gmail address. Gmail is considered slightly more professional than Yahoo. And you should be able to hang on to your Prairie View email address even after you graduate. Now, your email address is one of the first impressions you can make on people who are very, very busy. Email volume tends to be hundreds of messages. Your email inquiry might get lost in the shuffle because people read what looks important, time-sensitive, or interesting. If you have a very generic subject heading like hello, that doesn't look important, interesting, or time-sensitive, you're easy to skip or simply delete. When people have hundreds of messages to get through every day, they read maybe the first sentence of your email. What does this mean? You need to cut to the chase. You need to get right to the point immediately. And we're going to talk about some strategies for this. But first, you want to make sure that your subject line, that all-important first sentence, use a professional tone. Treat your email like a letter. It's okay to say, "Dear so-and-so." Use complete, direct sentences. It's all right to have very short paragraphs. Thank the reader for his or her time, and then sign yourself. Identify yourself. If you go to all this trouble of sending an email and then forget to sign your full name, how does this person know who to contact? Again, if you treat an email like a letter, you'll remember to say, "Dear so-and-so, here's what I want. Thank you, sincerely me." In those complete direct sentences, you'll tend to fall into one of three types of professional email. First, you might be providing information to someone. The grade reports will be ready at 11 a.m. Oh, good to know. You might be requesting information, asking your administrative assistant if a major report is ready, or asking your professor, "What is the policy for student absences?" Finally, you might be requesting action. "Can you please send me the Durham file?" Notice this is short, sweet, to the point. "Dear Bob, can you please send me the Durham file? Thanks so much. Me." Especially in Western cultures, this sort of simple and direct request is preferable. So let's look at a more detailed email. Providing information. Read through this email message from Ms. Thomas. Do you know exactly what's going on in 2 sentences? This is information that Mr. Jones probably needs to know because a meeting has been changed. Oh, but it's still in the same place, and oh, Mr. Jones better be there. Principal Wood looks forward to your attendance. Notice that Miss Thomas hasn't spent a lot of time saying, "Hi, Mr. Jones, how are you? I hope you're doing well." It simply provides all of the necessary information. Well, what if Mr. Jones has a question about this staff meeting? He could then request information. Well, the meeting's been changed, so is Mr. Jones still giving a presentation with Ms. Pope? If so, when are we scheduled on the meeting agenda? The body of this email is one, relatively long, but one sentence long. Will we be giving a presentation? When? Thank you, Mr. Jones. So Ms. Thomas now needs to provide additional information. Dear Mr. Jones, yes, you are scheduled to present at 1:30 p.m. Does this answer Mr. Jones' entire question? Yep. And she also requests action. I need any handouts by 5 p.m. tomorrow to include in the teacher's packets. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. So we have a polite greeting, 2 sentences, a thanks, and a full name. This is an example of a highly professional email exchange that could have easily gone another way. Mr. Jones might be really upset that the meeting has been moved. Ms. Thomas might think Mr. Jones is missing an obvious point. The meeting's just been moved. Of course you're still scheduled to present. But see how polite and professional they are to each other. Now in this case, to get all of the information, you would need to read the entire email message. You might be thinking right now, well, of course I need to read the message. Why'd you send it? Well, you can maximize your use of subject lines. You can actually create an email where all of the information is in the subject and there is nothing in the email body. How might Ms. Thomas have done this? She could have said, meeting rescheduled Thursday at 1 p.m. Yes, there are abbreviations here, but is it still clear? That's one of the hallmarks of good technical communication. Ms. Thomas might get several questions. Which meeting? Am I still scheduled to present? But this subject line definitely would get people's attention. If I'm requesting information, rather than simply saying, help. Help with what? Help. Explain medical benefits? Oh, okay. And you can use your subject line as your whole message. Please send handouts for meeting. The EOM, in parentheses at the end, is somewhat standard business lingo for end of message. If you see EOM in a subject line, it means there is nothing in the email body. This is it. This is the entire message. Now, do you run the risk of being unclear with some abbreviations, especially with an international audience? Yeah. So could you spell out, please send handouts for meeting? Yes, you certainly could. But the reason I've used these abbreviations is because mobile devices, our smartphones, only display so much. Usually an entire subject line, pull out your phone if you're not already on it. Go to your email and scroll through. Do you see the entire subject line or do you see ... You need to get to the point in 15 to 25 letters or characters. Abbreviations might become very crucial. And remember, people scan messages, especially on their cell phones. No matter what size cell phone you have, that screen is not too big. You want to start off your message with the important information in the first 100 characters. That's only 20 to 25 words. But the person on the other end of the message is going to understand clearly what you need, be able to scan it, and get back to you really quickly, rather than having to scroll to figure out what is it that you want. So let's do a little bit of practice. What would be a good smartphone subject line for this message that Mr. Jones sent to Ms. Thomas? 15 to 25 characters. Here's one option. Still presenting on TEKS at the meeting? EOM. If Ms. Thomas simply replies yes without saying when Mr. Jones is scheduled, then there's going to be more emails. But Ms. Thomas might simply shoot back, yes at 1:30 p.m. EOM. Saves both of them some time, simply by communicating through subject lines. Now here's a sample rewrite of a subject line and messages to optimize them for smartphone. Subject, TEKS present at meeting. Here's the message. It is 71 characters long, so I'm well within that 100 cap. Are Ms. Pope and I presenting last year's scores? When on the agenda? Thanks, Mr. Jones. Incredibly easy to see and read on a smartphone. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier, better, more efficient, but only if we use technology more efficiently. Here are some other email tips. Make your message easy to quote. A lot of times when people reply, they include something amazing or important you said. Keep your paragraph short. Third bullet, don't clutter up people's inboxes with a thanks every time that a task is completed. Can you please send me the files? The files are sent. Thanks. Save that thank you when someone has done you a huge favor, when someone has compiled a 250-page report. Write a thoughtful email that's more than thank you, something that that person can put into a personnel file and use for performance evaluations to negotiate for a raise. So there's our introduction to professional email. Next week, we'll be going through a video lecture on how to actually write professional emails to your professors and in the workplace beyond.